Hey guys, my name is Tim. I'm the master mechanic at Zeiten BMW Mobile Services, and today we have F80 BMW M3, and what are we gonna do? We're gonna do the rear brake pads. So this car doesn't have ceramic brakes, so those are regular steel rotors. And without further ado, let's get to it. First of all, while the car is still on the ground, just loosen the 17mm bolts on the wheel. Those are not tight at all. And after that, I already placed my jack right here where it's supposed to be. So there's a pad right here. So if you guys don't know what it is, it's right here. That's where it's supposed to be. If you don't have this pad, there's gonna be just an empty spot with the metal. You still jack up right here, but just make sure you don't hit the side skirt right here. So let's raise the car up. That's pretty much all we need. We don't need much room. Alright. Now the very common thing that happens to people during the brake jobs and removing the wheel, like when you remove all 5 bolts and the wheel is stuck. This one is not, but people think, oh, maybe something else is holding it. Start removing the emblems and everything else. Nothing ever holds the wheel except those 5 bolts. Nothing at all, ever. Just hit it hard. This one is not welded in there, so oh, look at that! Brakes are not the only thing that needs to be replaced in here. Disaster is waiting to happen. But look how wide it is also. Crazy. 295. So the M3 has not so regular pads and calipers, so if you replace the brake pads on any other BMW, not M series basically, or the previous generation like the older ones, those calipers are different, but let me assure you, it's not that hard to replace those. Regarding the parts, what are we going to use today is Akebono Euro. Pretty good pads. I like those. They are not dusty and they don't sound bad at all like some of the pads are. And if you look at the pads, look at those weirdly shaped pads for BMW, of course. Let me remove that. And of course, like pretty much almost any BMW, we have one sensor in the front and one in the back. So I'm showing you the side with the sensor. So this is the passenger side. The sensor is right here. I'll show you later. So that's how the pads look like. We'll compare the thickness of the pad when we remove the old one. There's not much left. It's about, I'd say, 3 millimeters, maybe 4, so 20-30% left, something like that. So all right, the first thing we gotta do, and you might find a better tool. What I use is, it's a Torx 15 what is it, a socket, Torx 15 socket on extension, and there's 2 pins right here. If you look close enough, those guys are one right here and one right here. What we gotta do is carefully tap it in, and Torx 15 fits perfectly. So you just let me see, just make sure you don't. There we go. And it comes out from the back. Now you can basically use your pliers to take it out. We do the same from the bottom. The only danger basically is if you're tapping it and you just scratch the caliper, but pretty much that's it. There is nothing else. So yeah, Torx 15 on extension works perfect. You might find something else, it just has to fit this hole, and that's pretty much it. Torx 20 will be fine as well, I think. Torx 25 would be pretty much already too big for it. Alright, let's grab the pliers. So here's the back of the caliper. We're going to be removing this pin. There is also a spring right here. It's a loaded spring, but not loaded too much. So what we can do, let me see, it's basically pry against the caliper, and now there's enough. Technically what we gotta do is kind of release the tension from the spring, so just press on it. Easier said than done while shooting, but you should be able to. Alright, well, let's keep moving the pin. There we go. So that's number one. They're exactly the same, top and bottom, so there's not much tension here. Should be, at least. Now the bottom pin, same. Just pry against the caliper, and then when it's enough, that's the second one. Now basically we need to release some tension. I'll just twist between using the regular screwdriver, push these pads aside. They're moving pretty easily, and now you can see the spring came out. There we go. So let's go from there. So now what we gotta do is to push the pistons inside, and it's better to do it side by side because of the design of the caliper. One, you push one, the other one comes out, you push another, like, well, you get the idea. You can use the special tool for it and slide it in between the pads, and you just basically, it's like a pistol, you can press it and it pushes both sides apart. If you don't have that, you don't really need it. Like, all you need is a screwdriver, and guess what, you just pry against the rotor, and despite all the concerns of the people on forums, those keyboard experts, nothing ever happens if you pry against the against the rotor. So you see, this side is already fully in, and we just slide out the pad, and this one, it pushes the piston on the other side all the way here, but it's still flexible. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna put the new pad inside and do the same with the other side. So, and as of right now, we can compare the thickness of the brake pads. You see, that's how it is. As I said, about 2-3 millimeters, 20-30% left. That is not, as far as I can tell, enough. Well, the sensor is already damaged, yeah, so that's about to be triggering the warning light of the brake pad replacement, but not all the time, since it has only one sensor on this side. The other side might be worn out more. I've seen that. It's pretty rare, but it happens. And just visual inspection sometimes when the pads are pretty old is a good thing to do. Alright, so we got this pad, slide it in, and what are we gonna do next is pry this pad against the rotor. Just do it gently, slowly. no need to do anything. As you can see, the sensor is already grinded. That's the way the sensor works. So it has this little bump over it, and when the pad hits the certain level, it grinds the sensor. That's how the car knows, like, oh yeah, that's 20% left, 30% left. Or when it doesn't touch it, it goes by time. So when it's completely gone, it will say, well, we don't have pads anymore. Very simple technology, nothing really sophisticated. Like, people think about sensors like this electronic devices, very sophisticated. Not at all. It's just two wires. Once the signal is gone, because it grinds the sensor, basically there is no signal coming from the pads, and the car says like, hey, we don't have pads anymore. That's it. Nothing really special. Now every pad, they are all the same pretty much. Let me see. All of them have this little spot for the sensor. So those Akebono Euros come with the sensor, so you don't need to get another one. As you can see, there is this little bump right here, which on here is grinded out. I'm not sure if you can see it, but that's the comparison pretty much. It's all about this bump. That's the measurement. Alright, so now we put the sensor first, and this bump should be facing towards the brake pad material, not this way, and you gotta slide it real carefully, actually, so you don't break it while you do so. There we go. Slips in all the way, and now we just slide in the pad with the sensor back in place. There we go. Nice and easy. I'll keep this one in place for now so we can trace it all the way back. I mean, that's as an instruction. It's usually always goes the same way, but just for you, keep it in place for now. Now we're gonna install the spring and those pins. So that is not easy thing to show. So we got one. As you can see, I don't put the spring yet. The spring goes in later. Right here, that's where it's supposed to go. And once it reaches this spot, that's just enough. So it's harder on the other side, since the spring will be already under tension. So you just push it. That's the way it goes. I got it a bit, but I need to push the spring a little bit more so there is less tension in there. Pretty much almost there. That's where the hammer comes in. There we go. On both sides. Just don't hit it too hard. We just got those pins in, and now we just gotta make sure they're all the way. There we go. Just the way it was before. So basically everything here is fine and everything's ready to be back to normal. So what I recommend you guys is just go step by step, and you see the sensor will have its spots where it's supposed to be clipped in. So that's the first, covering the bleeding screw. Then we go deep inside. There is a, well, basically it's all on clips in here. that's the way it goes. Around the back we can't see that. The only thing I can show you is this. We gotta take this 10mm off. It's a 10mm plastic nut right here, and it has this sort of a window, so this is removable. And when we do that, we can open this box and the sensor will be right here. Which one? Just follow the wire. Yep, this one, the last one. So alright guys, I can't show you what's going on inside there, but just it's basically all on clips. Just follow the original sensor and unplug it, and then just this quick well, push and release connector right here. Wire your sensors back in place exactly the same way, if hopefully you don't break anything. If not that big of a deal, to be honest. And then plug it in. So that's it, fellas. Nothing really overcomplicated. The sensor is in place, everything's fine. It's just routing it. It's hard to show. Regarding the caliper and the way it's built, like it's the same thing exactly in the front, and the other side I'm not going to show you obviously because it's exactly the same minus the sensor, so less trouble. It's a faster side, the other one. Regarding the tools, there's nothing really much you need. I got an extension and 17mm to remove the wheel, 10mm to remove this plastic nut for the sensor, just a regular hammer, pliers, and the screwdriver, and of course my Torx 15 with an extension to push the pins out in the first place. And that's it. That's all you need. Like, really simple, really fast thing to do. Don't overthink it about like, oh, I can't press against the rotor, I'm gonna damage it. This is complete BS. Nothing will ever happen. Just don't hammer the rotor in, like with the screwdriver. I don't know, it's like, it's really hard to damage. It's a hard steel. If you just pry against it a little bit, like nothing's gonna happen. Don't worry about it. You can save a lot of money by doing it yourself without even having any weird tools, because like, yeah, nothing is here. It's all regular stuff. So this is it. Alright guys, so now when the both sides are replaced and you're proud of yourself completing such a difficult job and saving hundreds of dollars, one thing I want you to remember first, tighten your wheels back the way they're supposed to be. That's the first. Second thing you gotta do, you gotta pump the brakes. Otherwise you start driving and you have no brakes. So what you're gonna do is, here's the brake pedal. What are we doing is just pumping it all the way down and back, down and back. A few times, that's it. It's hard. You are back to normal brakes. If you don't do that, you start driving, it will go all the way down and the car will not slow down. So that's the second important thing to remember. And now the third one, basically all we gotta do is to reset the computer. Service due, so we don't start the car. And here's what we're gonna do. Different cars have basically different software, and some cars you have to start, some cars you don't, but there's a button right here in the corner of the dashboard. So we hold it. Yep, that's the one. Brake fluid reset. Sure, we'll do that. And then release and reset. That's how it goes. Easy and simple. It resets itself. Awesome. Then we go to the next part. So engine oil. Not yet. We could check. Rear brake pads. Says 60,000 miles still. Like, yeah, that's a lie. It can easily go to from 60,000 to a 0 real quick, as long as if the sensor gets grinded to a halt, and then it resets to 80. Yeah, right. So there we go. Everything's reset. Now we start the car and we pump the brakes again just to make sure. And then you're all ready to go. Okay guys, I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions, please ask in the comments below. If you don't like it, don't like it. But if you do, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the like button. It helps a lot to grow the channel, so I really appreciate it. Like, that's all free information for you. Thank you guys for watching again. Don't break your cars.